90 people had signed up for this event, which is good. You don't normally expect during a weekday kind of sign up. I think it's being live streamed on YouTube. So in case people don't realize, that's what it is. Excellent. So good evening, everyone. If you're dialing in, just stay on mute unless you're talking. Otherwise, you do have extraneous noises. The Thai Bangalore and KDM have been doing a number of events in partnership. And one of the topics that the FinTech team was keen on doing is what are the adjacencies where FinTech can play a role? And one of the areas was obviously Agri-FinTech, because it's a lot to do with inclusive growth, but it is also an area which is quite difficult. And it's only going to be economies of scale that will enable us to succeed in this area. With the government, the RBI coming out with the CBDC, digital currency, ONDC, the supply chain transformation, and the most recent one with the DigiLocker and all the other kind of tools that are being put in place, we don't know what the potential for transformation is. We've got three really interesting people who will share their perspectives on the agriculture FinTech space from their own experiences. We have Himana Gowda, who's the founder, CEO, MD of What's Loan. I spoke with him a few months back in, I think, December in Mangalore, where for Karnataka was being set up. And he said, we have to do something on Agri-FinTech. And less than 3 months, we've got something kicked off, which is brilliant. I really love that. Joining us, we have CM Patil, who's the CEO of Krishi Kalpa. He also has other roles. I'm not going to go into that. So we'll keep the introductions fairly brief. But again, I think very passionate. And the experience that he's had with the agricultural environment, the FPOs and what they're doing and how we can connect them to the marketplace, I think it's worth understanding. And I think his rich experience will enable us to see other new business models, other new solutions that we can take up today that we have the potential to do so. We have Jagdish Sunkar, who's an independent consultant. But I think he's also had very rich experience in many spaces, including mushroom cultivation, which I saw. And I said, in a way, it's... and that's actually booming in many spaces. And so he's got the experience of a neo-agriculturist from that angle, but he's also got rich experience with the government and what they're doing, the policies and perspectives. So this will give us a kind of a rounded view of different stakeholders, very strong backbone of technology, which runs through all of this. And the purpose of this entire exercise is, if you're in the FinTech world, are there areas that you can explore and not just the traditional payments and loans, which people have done in the retail space, but the adjacencies can probably uncover opportunities that you haven't thought of. With that, I will ask Timana to kind of set the tone, share his perspective for about 5 to 10 minutes, then Mr. Patil and Mrs. Sunkar.
Thank you, Sandhya. Thank you, everybody. We have 2 agri experts and there are 2 bankers sitting here. We have spent about 20-30 years doing banking, consumer banking, lending and all that. We never touched agriculture that time because we were not given a chance. But when we were building a digital lending interfaces or digital finance and all that you see in FinTech, I chanced upon about 3 years back that one Gramina bank wanted to build what people build for an urbanite, digital lending. And there's a very simple problem of Kisan credit card is a 5-year loan, very simple product. 1998 onwards, 17 crore people have taken this loan through NABARD scheme across PACs, primary credit cooperative societies, 45 Gramina banks, and 12 public sector banks, and all of private banks, because everybody has been mandated to do 18% of their bank credit to agriculture. 70% of this, I was surprised, goes through Kisan credit card. It's called a simple, no question asked. Average ticket size is about 1 lakh. And the 3 lakh is the space they operate up to. Because 3 lakhs, it gets subsidized by the state and central government on the interest. When I looked at it, what is the issue? Like it was taking 4 to 6 weeks just to renew. That means every year the farmer is coming back to the branch of the Gramina Bank and standing there with 8 to 10 visits just to renew a loan. And he's spending all the time which you should be spending on the farm with the branch. And he's not from that town and he has to travel. We looked at it and we said, it's very simple. Why are you asking farmer paper? And you can get all of this. There is Aadhaar, there is DigiLocker, there is Karnataka, it was for Karnataka. Karnataka land records have been digitized in 2004. They are available. And bureau can be called immediately. What if I put, okay, this is a bank which already implemented a core banking system and a lending system. We said, okay, what we put a digital interface outside that and talk to that banking system. Don't try to, my suggestion is don't try to replace the systems which are already there because they've spent the money. We did that and they said, okay, what is the budget? I said, no budget. You say no budget, everybody loves you. I said, okay, if I don't like your product, throw it off. I mean, we started like that. It's a pay-per-use model. And we have already impacted about 1.5 lakh farmers in the last 3 years. And this is the primary thing that we are talking about. What I'm saying is there I found that Agri and Fintech can converge. It is not adjacencies anymore. It's already converging. I see last 3 years, a lot of convergence happening. And the government has built a lot of digital infrastructure. And there is a DIL RMP you would have seen. 95% land records have been digitized. RTC, RO have been digitized. Cadastral data has been digitized. Now they have to open up. They have to give the open APIs to the Fintech you can build. There are 2 Agri experts who will talk about the Agri side of it. We're saying this is simplest products. And I have seen Kisan Credit, one of the largest products in the world, single product ever seen. 17 crore people have enjoyed. And the yearly target is 120 million, 12 crore every year. There is something called a PM Kisan benefit scheme, right? In 2020 February, government called out, saturate this population with some amount of loan under Kisan Credit, which is a simple product. 10,000 to 50,000 is the Flexi Case Kisan. Absolutely no questions asked, delivered by 65,000 packs, primary credit cooperatives. 50,000 to 3 lakh is the realm of 45 Gramina banks and 12 public sector banks. And they have to do it. And they're short. They're not achieving more than 70% of their target because of the paperwork. Farmer is happy to go to a mandi, paying 4% per month compounded interest, not ready to come to the bank, taking 4% per annum subsidized interest. This is the problem we have solved. And I think I'll stop here and hand it over to them.
You can still say a few more things if you want.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just saying, then we were tasked with, okay, how is this? This is an assisted model. For example, it was given to 3,000 officers, 1,100 branches. It impacts 20,000 villages in Karnataka. I can see it. Before coming, I looked at it. Who is doing what? I can see the dots. Who is doing what? That's the control you get with the technology. Then we were tasked. There is on a 2nd September, RBI came out with 2 circulars. One is to restrict the digital lending, which I think most of you, if you are in Fintech, would have been or realized how to step up the next level with the regulation now, work with the regulation. So here, the second circular on the same day was digital Kisan credit card. It was written and something we had built on our own was perfectly fitting into that. I'm giving a live example so that you all get motivated to work with Fintech and Agritech, right? So they said, can you launch this in less than a month? We launched it in less than a month. They said, you should be not an assisted model. Nobody should assist. Customer should be able to come on his own and get a loan. And they said, don't tell me approval, renewal and all that doesn't work. You want new to bank customer, existing bank customer, new to credit, should get 1.6 lakh into his accounts in 10 minutes. In exactly 1 month, we delivered this, and this was called the best innovation agri finance by the governor, and RBIH is here in this building. They were the people who were guiding us. The RBI was supporting MP government. supported opening all the land record API, which we had already done in Karnataka. We took it to the MP. They said, show it in a new state. We took that challenge, we showed it. Now today, the customer can give a missed call and get a link on his mobile, take 5 steps, 1.6 lakh gets credited to his account. And this is the real thing. This has gone live after necessary audits, checks by the bank, everybody, all regulatory authorities. And I'm very proud to say, a farmer gets a loan in 2 minutes, which a consumer may not get, a two-wheeler loan you may not get nowhere in the world. And this has happened in India with public sector bank. With all the guidelines of the RBI and RBIH guidance, everything. So I'm very, very proud to say that a fintech has got involved in that.
Which bank it is?
Union Bank of India.
So I think that's the reason I didn't want Timana to stop, because his story on this one is actually so important, the kind of things that happen. In fact, during the last year, and Michael also knows that, there's a small startup with blockchain providing warehouse lending. Farmers, after their harvest, they get loans against the collateral. And earlier they didn't. What's fascinating to me was it's a startup. They've got a consortium of banks and NBFC providing the loans. And the level of transparency that's there, and the number of farmers getting impacted as a result of that is huge. So you have technology on one hand, the blockchain technology, the ease of doing business, and a segment that was not normally getting financing, getting it at such an easy way. It's an early stage.
Ergos?
No, our work.
Oh, okay.
Work.
Yeah, another startup. Yeah.
Yeah.
Then Ergos does the same thing. Multiple startups have actually been
So
part
now-
of this thing.
Now, why don't you start your story?
Sure. I think thanks Sandhya for having me here. I see Ashok as well. He was one of the founder in Krishi Kalpa. The idea will be fascinating about Krishi Kalpa, just for all of you understanding. Krishi Kalpa is a not-for-profit organization. It's a Section 8 company. Opened up with a clear intent to say, how can we bridge the gap between the rural Bharat, what we can call it as, and the Agritech startups? Because a lot of, I don't know if I'm sure you would be aware of it. If I have to refer the period of 2020 Jan to 2022 June, there's about close to $1.3 billion US have been pumped in Agritech startups. And if you still see, the problems remain the same things there, saying that how do we get connected to all of these things? So what we started, the founders of the company with Ashok, Manoj, Prashant, Prakash, and Sham, when they started, they wanted to see that most of them come from investors themselves. They said a lot of our investments is going on the technology side, but to solve the agri problem, we need a different arm, which actually works with the government and with the startups and with the farming communities. So we were actually thinking, how do we directly go and work with? So in the process, we actually added Mohandas Pai and Chris Gopal Krishna as advisors. They also pumped in some sort of capital to say that, how can we make an experiment work out? So what we did, we actually tried to see, we actually discovered a thing called FPO, which has been existing for the last 20 years, but I'm not that deep expertise in agri sector, but last 2017 onwards, I started working deeply with farmers and the rural market from my Deshpande startup stints where I started working with here. So what we thought was, is it a way for us to say, can we create these FPOs, farmer producer organizations? For all of you, some of you don't know what is FPOs. It's actually an equivalent of a private limited company where a group of farmers comes and form an entity wherein each of them are shareholders. So if in case if we're able to create these sustainable FPOs in the country, the entire benefits get translated there to the farmer. What we thought is, one end we have Agritech startups, we have farmers, and we have entities like FPOs. Why not make them work like an entrepreneurial venture? That was the thing what we started with. And we did two different experiments with consortium of FPOs coming in. And one other experiment, what we did was, can we build FPOs in a startup way? All we did, one simple thing is we collaborated with the governments here. So one of the experiments what we did in Ramnagar, now we have spread across the entire Karnataka here. We said, what is the problem? Why is FPOs not functioning like a startup? Because when we call it the private limited companies, what is it they're actually not solving? See, farmers know how to grow and how to get the agri sector go to the next stage, but they don't come from a business community background, nor the CEOs of these entities run this like a ventures kind of company. So when we interact with many people, we figured out that Okay, one thing what they are not coming is they're not hustler categories. And typically, all of us entrepreneurs here know if we don't have that hustling capacity within the founding team or the startup team, then we can't find a customer. So what we said, let Krishikalpa take that onus where we will try and connect the market to this API. We'll try and provide a market lead. And since we're not for profit company, government was very, very happy to work with us because A, we didn't ask any money to them. B, we didn't ask the credit also. We said, whatever we do, let's work plan. So in a synonymous, if I have to give, let's say if car represent a startup and if a village represent a farmer, there is no road in between. So can Krishikalpa work, collaborate with the government and other agencies and lay that road? I proved this some of the experiments. When we started in Ramnagar, Kolar and Tiglapur here by that, we said we will start preparing a crop calendar kind of a thing, where each of these FPOs will come and tell what is the produce they have. Instead of they doing a distress sell, we said prepare in advance, 2 months advance, what crops are you getting? Preferably we start with horticulture because we also wanted to start with low hanging fruit, let me be very honest with you. Because in the case of agriculture commodities, we get supply and demand problem, wherein the entire supply comes only for 3 months, demand obviously drops it. We tried experimenting with the horticulture because farmers were a little bit, well-to-do farmers. And if at all we are able to build a transparency in the market linkage, that could go to the market. What we did was, Krishikalpa started talking to all the startups, aggregating their needs and passing the benefits to the farmers or the FPOs. Local government also, we started using them to say, can you help us do the quality check? Because alone we can't build the entire system so that. So we work with the Department of Horticulture, Department of Agriculture, the local administrative in that particular district. So that we wanted them to be an invincible part of this ecosystem. And that is the USP what we have done all together. So when we did this experiment, we picked up few approvals, but never done about 40 lakhs of revenue in the last 4 years. They started clocking revenue of close to 3 to 4 crores in less than 9 months time. And that is when the real transformation started happening. All we did was get the produce, sort, grade, and then see who are the various different market for them. And we started teaching the FPOs go for 2 different markets. One is bulk B2B market and B2C market where the margin will be much better. Right? We wanted them to learn of these 2 things. And in short, we tried to provide an accelerator platform for these FPOs. When we did this, we were surprised to see the transparency of what was lagging earlier. Dependable agencies for these companies. We work with about close to 36 startups today, right from the words like it could be Ninja Card, it could be Big Basket, it could be Axel funded startups like Clover, it could be, or again, we didn't want it to be only one funded company. We actually took startups from various sectors funding startups. And the approach what we took was we will provide a market access. All we said is we have connect to the market and we can empathize with the farming community much better. And that's when we can actually add a value. So far we have done about close to 28 crores of market linkage through these FPOs. We've added about close to about 4 crores of additional income for the farmers just by doing sorting reading. And the reason why the topic on the fintech part, right? So here everybody needs finance. And in agriculture sector, it's like a cash and thing. It is common with all the startups or all the other businesses wherever. For you to do the output market linkage businesses, you need typically these FPOs will be having only 10 lakhs of working capital. So we started approaching a lot of NBFCs, saying that can you give us a better loan, faster loan at a lesser interest? First, when we approached the nationalized banks, they were a little hesitant because the books were not that strong. Today, even in fact, just yesterday, we did an event conference with SBI, which is one of the largest ever conference done in the FPO meet. Imagine a situation 1.5 years back, no bankers were wanting to lend this. Yesterday, I had a nationalized bank doing this conference for FPOs where 16 of our FPOs were presenting what they have done in the last 1 year. And each of them have been there now wanting to give a loan up till 2 CR, no collateral asked, less than 8% interest. So what I'm only trying to tell the audience, the startups here, that yes, it's a tough market. Yes, it's a very patient requirement is that high. But if we are persistent enough in winning the confidence of the customers, we can now aggregate whatever we want. Our startups are now exporting their produce through the startups. FPOs are exporting their produce through startups to outside countries now. In fact, in June last year, for the very first time, we actually exported a fruit called butternut squash in Kolar which is only grown by some 6-7 people. Apida came forward and told this is the first time ever in the country where a farmers group exported that to a budding startup to a Dubai market. The flag off was done by Apida, which is an agency which is meant for export. So I now what I'm trying to converge here is that there's a huge opportunity in this ecosystem. As Tamara rightly mentioned, nobody knows. FPOs is supposed to do the financial services for the member farmers. Nobody knows that. How much ever we talk about Kisan credit card, having worked with this ecosystem so closely, 70 to 80% of this market is still untapped. Today also, I'm not saying middlemen are bad. Middlemen are the lifelines for these farmers and the entire community. They're actually providing this entire linkages now. Now, some of these people, and I feel many of the fintech startups are not even looking at these sectors. For example, I'm just doing a hypothetical scenario. Let's say I have a produce. Okay, and here is the company which is actually giving me a loan. Now, for example, the company what Sanjay just mentioned, really it could be a because what they are doing, they're collecting farmers' produce, storing it at the warehouse, and against which they're getting a loan. As simple as that, right? So and all of these warehouses are actually residing in small villages where per square feet about 6 to 7 rupees is being charged. If you look at urban, we actually pay about 18 to 20 rupees if at all you go to the remote parts of Bangalore. I'm not even taking the central part of it. Outskirts of Bangalore, we pay about that much of price. Tumkur, if you go again, 12 rupees kind of thing. But if you have got the warehouses constructed in some of these villages, there you can go as low as 4 or 5 rupees also per square feet. Now, I mean, there's a whole lot of things what we can do. The only reason why we did this conference with SBI or some of the Nationalist Bank was, can we get us a loan at a very affordable interest rates now? Now, this is where probably the tech folks who have been doing a lot of innovation in the technology field, farming community works with different approach. It doesn't work out on they don't want to look at what tech is all about. Can you guys empathize with them, be with them, hand on with them for 6 months, build that trust. Once they trust you, trust me, today, as I said, Krishikalpa is not even taking a buy of 1 single paisa also for connecting a startup to an FPO. But still, now FPO knows all the billings happen directly. If we say we are going back, they don't do a business still. I mean, I'm just like surprised. Why is that? Because I'm not even paying you. We only just brought. Now, what I've understood in the last 18 months or 24 months is that trust is an important element to win the rural market. Even though if you're not adding any financial, today, I mean, I don't want to say this, but I have to openly admit this. If we say, if after building this trust, right, if we say, instead of this startup, give it to this startup, they'll blindly give that. We never wanted to control the market, but we have reached a stage where this is how the exact transactions are happening out there. So my only suggestion is tech will definitely require for scale, but it is not the only thing to solve the agri problem. You need to empathize and see, and it's a blue ocean market, guys. I can go on and on about the rural market a lot, whatever I have an understanding. Secondary processing, if you look at it, or I would say primary processing, it is less than 7% in the country. We don't even do any processing. If you go for we have got huge food parks kind of, but for me the solution is not a huge food park, small value part of it. Like now 2023 we are calling it the millet year. How many of us are aware of the processing centers available in the country or in the state? I'll just give one small example. I'll probably complete the opening remarks. Under the Agri Infrastructure Fund, which is about 1 lakh crores of fund which has been announced. Trust me, Karnataka has got only 5% share in that. Only 5%. Maharashtra has taken about 25%. And again, this is not a grant. The beautiful part of this program is it's a loan which is given at anywhere between 2 to 6% interest rate. And I was actually writing an article, chapter for Government of Karnataka on how to make $1 trillion economy. In that process, I was actually trying to understand each and every district's performance. Out of, if I may say, 4,000 crores is the share what we were supposed to get. We have used only 363 crores of funds so far. Look at the gap, what it is there. There's money out there. There are schemes out there. There is no liable agency to say, this is what it is. In fact, yesterday when we were talking to this, FPO's share in usage is only 1%. I'll probably share the graphs and some of this to you. Only 1% has been utilized by these people. So if and they won't entertain you that easily. Like we have struggled a lot. We have gone to their houses and then spoken to them. We've gone to them. See, that is what it requires. I've seen startups paying 3 times the price for their cluster head than if they had invested about 6 months' time to work with an FPO, they would have been their customers. That is where something the gap is there, is what I feel. I think opportunity is humongous here. And not-for-profit organizations with all the wherewith, of course, we had fantastic founders who believed in this dream and they said, this is what an opportunity is all about. So that is when we say that, okay, this is how the gap can be filled. And we don't want to solve it. We are not even building any tech. We're only trying to liaison whatever is built and then see how can we make a map-making part of it.
So with that, Jagdish.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks. So just a quick introduction or whatever. I've been in this agri space since '96. That's a long time. And done several experiments, found failed, and hence those lessons to share. A lot of successes. One of the big things that has engaged me all the time really is, as I have seen, agriculture is only subject. If I put 1 seed, I get 100 seeds. The design of agriculture is profit and abundance, and yet we see poverty. For the money that I put in agriculture, I don't see those returns. The money is somehow vanishing, and this intrigued me. And spent a lot of time, done a lot of projects, and I'm an agri person as it can be. You can take sugar cane, you can tell apples, oranges, whatever. I will give you numbers and data of those, etc. Until very recently, we did not have access to such technology where we can make the money available to the farmer. That plumbing is what is missing. Okay, farmer needs a loan, no doubt. And let me reassure you, he's not looking for a low-cost loan. At 48, 50%, 60%, he will take the money. Because there's one thing about farming, if you ever want to know about farmer, he has no shortage of time. But his life depends on timing. It's not time, it's timing. When he needs it, he needs it. Okay, make sure that you make it easily available to him. That's about it. And as simple as that, he'll give his life for it. So don't be bothered about defaults and whatever that's as good or even lesser than urban areas and other enterprise. They will pay you back provided they know you're genuine. We know, let us not kind of get into that part where politicians have kind of set a trend where it's written off, etc. But that should not be a discussion for us today. So you get in the right discipline, they'll pay you back. They'll pay you back with interest. But you need to have the domain understanding. Okay, a sugarcane's farmer's money requirement has a certain spread. A paddy farmer has another spread. A horticulture farmer has another spread. Never ever define that you will go all India, across state, across 15 crops, etc. Your lifetime is not sufficient to go to the depth of one crop and understand structured products. So do not do the mistake of saying that India is such a big country, so many million farmers, so it's all of them. Good for you if you can understand all those numbers. But at least for next 2 years, don't talk that. That's a slippery path. You will lose out very fast. Begin at one place, get your tractions, and you're off. You'll take off, and you'll reach your dreams. Okay, that's what I want to leave you with.
No, but share more of your experiences, because you've got both the government policy perspective as well as your very practical experience that'll be invaluable for the collective.
Thank you. So, what would I say? I've had a little interesting journey about this entire experiments, etc., where though I entered as a novice and tried to do agriculture, the Agriculture University at Harvard supported me a lot in my experimentation, where we started a school of agriculture for farmers' children, saying, this is way back in 96, 98, etc., where we were afraid about GATT and WTO and they would, do damage to the farmers. We identified rural youth who need to stay back in the village. Not like many of us who left villages because of our education came to urban areas. Many of our brethren could not come back. And we gave them skills and tools. We said training is what is required. And we worked deeply with contract farming, which is when I really realized those who know science don't know business, and those who know business don't know the science of agriculture. And something needs to bring them both together. And a lot of this in agriculture, whether you like it or not just in India, and it's the world over. We work under the umbrella and the shadow of policymakers. Now, just don't believe like I have a great technology and so government cannot control it and it's agnostic of government, I can do it. Sorry, that's not true in agriculture at all. Okay, because we should fundamentally believe that agriculture is about food, which is about social good, and hence the first thing government will do is step in and regulate you. So get the buy-in, work with them. They're most proactive to make a difference to agriculture because it has come to a stage where actually agriculture has become a millstone around the government's neck. Whether you like it or not, you just spend some time around in Delhi, you'll realize the first thing that hurts policymakers in this one is to know that we give whatever, some 30 lakh crores to a fertilizer subsidy. Food production doesn't go up. The more fertilizers we use, the more degraded soils we have. We want a way to solve this problem. Now, that doesn't mean we go the Sri Lanka way where I'll cut off subsidies. Okay, where is this game being played? All that the farmer needs is liquidity to be able to buy a cow dung which is not available. If there is no organic carbon in the soil, no amount of urea I put works there. Okay, so I mean, just create a local ecosystem that circular economy and these words are used, where that liquidity is required for the farmer. Now, if he has that liquidity, he will create the business, he'll create the work around it and whatever else. Okay. I really want to tell people, don't really look at middlemen are bad. I want to pick on that word. Okay. That's nice to say it's good for jingoism and elections and journalists. Okay. They play a vital role. And the problem is these are people who are stuck in that activity where cost of capital is very high for them because there is no asset to show. I have to take an example of a tomato trader. Now he buys it from 10 farmers and gives it to one trader at a wholesale place. At the end of the day, the farmer has land as an asset whose value increases whether it does agriculture or doesn't do agriculture. Whereas if this fellow goes out of business, nobody gives him money because he's a vendor on the footpath. So cost of capital for him is very high. And the cost of capital for me, I'm not running charity bus. I'll transfer it to you or I'll push it onto the farmer. That's a place where technology can play a whole lot of role. I am a firm believer of Web 3.0 and token economics and such of these technologies are relevant. First time in the country we are seeing that when Prime Minister decides to give the Prime Minister Kisan Kalyan Nidhi, millions of farmers get money in their bank simultaneously in 1 second. That plumbing is being created in India. The Aadhaar-based payment system, absolutely fantastic. The account aggregator scheme that has been brought in. I think somebody has seen the opportunities of these roads laid. Now it's for you to come and bring in your vehicles and go and connect people. Transaction. ONDC, open. I think these are all brilliant things waiting to happen. Okay, I'm most excited for the sector, for the tech players, for people who understand the science of it, etc. Most willing to bring forth the agri knowledge there. I think we are waiting. Generally, we folks in the agri sector have not been very forthcoming and very, what I would say, wanting to shake hands. Okay, but I believe if you show them the money, everybody comes forward. That's the easiest thing. Just show us where the money is and we'll come and talk to you. Feel free to ask questions, please.
Yeah, that's only one point which I can add for Jagdish's point was making. Now that I think you're aware in the recent budget, I was fortunate enough to speak with the central government on the Agri Accelerator Fund, which is just about 500 crores. Okay, it's a very small fund, but still, I was one of the 6 speakers who was invited by Government of Agriculture Department in Government of India, where Minister announced openly saying that it is just an experiment what they are doing with the defense, what they had done earlier. They're replicating in Agri. You should not be surprised if it becomes 50,000 crores the next 2-3 years down the line. And now this accelerator fund, nobody knows whom to give. And they're actually trying to say, they've announced the fund. So what, in fact, on that day, we had even Ranjan from Sequoia also talking about it, where there are large VC funds set out to skewer for a genuine sales startup they can give it. And the agri problem or the rural problem, if you have to look at it, right, not necessarily everybody is meant for scale. I mean, I might sound a little different here, but there are a lot more businesses which are actually only 100 crores of worth value. And for them, they're trying to use this fund. Probably if the fintechs or the tech startups here can channelize these people, as you're alternative resource channels, right? They can benefit from agri-infrastructure fund. You can tap on with the technology and then see how can we build to the next stage. So that's the huge opportunity what we have it on. And government is seriously, they are coming out of this clutch of giving grant and they're slowly trying to make them get used to the low interest loan or get into the main, which is a very, very good sign because it's no more a grant. It's even if it's for 2% interest, it's still an interest money. You can't enjoy it free of cost. I think that is where the technology can play a role. And Tamana's kind of technology will actually have a lot more things. And I can be very honest. Some of these FPOs we have seen, they have no fintech have approached them. I've seen many in urban places where I get at least weekly, believe me, 10 to 15 calls asking for me to get a loan. I said, but I don't need a loan. But there's no system where they can go and talk to this. There are a lot of fund areas where there is a need for agricultural startups or the farmers. If the fintech can actually work in collaboration with an FPOs, you will yourself see how much can happen on that. And any credits, they're happy to provide and see how. They've got various experts here. When I can see some of them in the room as well and see what all we can talk about. They're happy to take any questions. Or
I just want to add a word of preparation, I would say, not even caution, with the FPOs. Okay. Sadly enough, they have a mile-long distance to go. Okay. Good intention has been created. It's like a big ship trying to turn. Do not expect immediate returns, but it will. And when it does, it will be set right in the right direction. See, there is no solution to the small and marginal farmer. In a country, I do not want, like India, I do not wish that farmers have to give up that 1 acre of land. Okay, but let me also be very clear. He's not going to get a quality of life out of that 1 acre of land. But we need a quasi way of aggregating these lands and they're working as an economic entity. Don't have hopes that the FPOs will get ready and get into business soon. You have a lot of work to do in the sense, look, at village level, if there's one thing, it's financial literacy. We have done a whole lot of things and brought other literacy. Now people know to read and write, and today there are more informed people in villages than it used to be a couple of years ago. But then when it comes to calculate interest rate, find out which is a better investment. In fact, my top point I want to give to all the fintechs is this, look, please find out avenues to invest for farmers. Other than gold, they have nowhere else to keep their money.
They don't.
Okay, instead of trying to give loans, which many people do, that's more difficult. Actually, farmers are sitting around with money because if he keeps it in his house, his wife wants to buy gold. If he keeps it in the gold, son wants to buy the fashionable bike. They will find ways to spend the money. Okay, what they need is avenues to invest. Please consider them.
Let me share a story slightly different. You're looking at agriculture. We were working with an NGO in the fishery space. And it was fascinating because they started that particular NGO 15 years ago when there was a drought in Bundelkhand. And then when he went there, he found ponds full of fish. And the people were, even though there was a severe drought, they had enough food. Those ponds, by the way, were 500-600 years old. They were sustainable. The fishing was good, not overfishing. And the children were, they had quality of food, which meant that there was food security in the longer term. This guy is also working in Bihar, where you have the flood situation. And again, when you have floods, farmers, can get really badly hit. They still had fish. He also has another project in Meghalaya, where you have, plants that grow in the pond where that fishing happens. We are looking to geotag all the methods of fishing across the country, ideally. I don't know how long it'll take because we have zero funding. We're starting with this one NGO, and hopefully you'll have more and we can take it forward. But the idea is then how do you commercialize it? And I'll share a story of one rural example of commercialization. There's a type of laddu, which is made from the forest, mawa trees, very sweet. It's made in the Sundarbans, deep forest. Shelf life, 1.5 days, 36 hours. They did the geotagging, so that team said, okay, how do we help commercialize it? So with packing it with dry ice and using just speed posts, nothing complicated, just 2 elements. Shelf life increased to 7 days. Now they're trying to improve the packaging. Can you do it for 15 days so that you can export it? Immediately, the quality of life is improved. Potential for those people staying in those deep forests and villages is improved. If you tie it back to ONDC, you have a highway, you have a potential for, if they want to increase the production in a different way, how do you do it without ruining the forests? Because they're increasing production. They are not going to be large scale, but the micro enterprises across India, which will increase the quality of life and the potential for how you do it, is interesting. I'm part of an NBFC. I've had conversations with 3 New York impact funds who are very interested in looking at the impact funding. So if you are involved in any of these spaces, you're looking at, are you increasing livelihood? Are you increasing their incomes? Are you able to give them funding at the time when they need it? These are opportunities that are very much in play, and the ecosystem is very ripe to support it. Many of us in the startup space, we have the single biggest opportunity with technology to make that, as you rightly put it, the highways, the plumbing in place. I have zero understanding of agriculture. I don't understand many of the things, but I love the laddu. And believe it or not, I was talking to a lawyer from Mumbai, and I shared the story with her. I said, yeah, my father procures those laddus. I'd like to get involved in the GI tagging and see whether I can increase the commercialization. So you're going to get very unexpected allies for making this transformation. And I honestly think it's one of the most exciting transformations that's available to us. Before I come back to questions, Ashok, do you want to add anything? Ashok Meda is the Agritech lead for TIE Bangalore. So do you want to share a few perspectives? Because take your seat. Yeah, take your seat. So take the seat here because people won't be able to see you otherwise. I'm happy to stand.
No, sit here.
No, come.
No, it's not fair.
It's okay. And that's okay. Go ahead, Ashok. Share your perspectives as well, because I think from a TIE perspective, I know you're doing quite a few activities.
Yeah, good evening, everybody. It's a pleasure to be honestly. I don't know the mix of participants here, tech, agri, the management aspects, but everybody can convert here to deliver something. Thanks for the experience sharing with the panelists here. We have not met, and like I keep seeing your messages.
I think he's one of the founders of Krishikal as well.
I know.
Yeah. Okay. Getting back to TIE, you may be very keen to know what exactly TIE is doing. Maybe Sanjay has told about it, the things we try to apply with. TIE is a mentor platform. It connects and encourages convergence of the domain and the technology in the finance and management. So if you think 4 or 5 years back, we did not have any special interest groups like tech used to come. It was more a tech platform where people come and like elephants, the story of elephant where they don't know what the big picture is. Then TIE started connecting with the domains, like how technology can support these domains. So when I came in back from Netherlands, TIE is one professional body I saw we should start connecting things. My background is an agricultural postgraduate, went into computer science and post-graduation and also the management. So the blend of 3 aspects which should deliver to the community happens. That's what TIE is doing. When Sanjay ji came from TV and joined us, she started trying with Fintech. I was telling her, so if at all you have money to spend to do, the big domain is agric. So it has to be beyond the metros, beyond the urbanites, but it's a rural place like what Dr. Gowda was telling me. There's a huge pocket of recipients which we should cater. So where it comes, how it happens is for us to builder. But the inclusive finance is one thing, it's a big aspect we should do. Maybe out of the experience when I was with the FMO in the Netherlands, I went into African terrain. Though I went for retail, but they saw my background as Agritech, and then they started connecting with governments. Why I'm telling this is, we grew up in a couple of the governments there had money. They had investable monies, because they are almost wildly rich, and things are coming. So they said Agritech is one aspect which we haven't done. We import rice, we import everything from Asian countries. Then I roped in McKinsey and Monitor groups. First thing, like I worked with them in the government and also the banking sector. We mobilize huge amount of money from different, why I'm telling is this money is available. But what McKinsey and Monitor we did was, we thought that the entire agri-wise, it should be a value chain business of looking at the entire system. Not that you take one pocket and start, maybe in terms of input supply or insurance of production, I would say go to the processing of the value addition to the products. That's not the way it has to be done. If at all we have to deliver something, it has to be done. Whether you call it as technology interventions, you call it as finance, like Dr. Gowda was telling, farmers are borrowing. But what they borrow, they just borrow the production. But what happens later? Does he get a right price, right value for the efforts he puts? And that is livelihood. This is what the Monitor and McKinsey do. In fact, I worked here in agriculture economy. When they saw this change of mindset, it was happening in India also. That was a hands-on. So why I'm telling you is like what happened there, like which is an example which you are telling the government of India here, is Agritech needs a blended finance. It's not that I'm telling only the Fintech aspect because this one is for that. It's a blended finance, like Agritech needs a short-term blending, maybe working capital, call it as in the SME terms. But the infrastructure, like he has to build an infrastructure, it's farms. But there he needs a term blending. We need a soft loan, like NABARD says, when developing finance needs. So, and the NGO says, yes, we can open these grants. So this blended finance will actually, if you take the averaging, the cost of rising money will be much less. Like working whereas in developing bodies like NABARD, when you think of World Bank, they have the low cost funding which can come into the infrastructure, and then the grants can come to support the economy. This is the one and only answer. Like Thai brought the World Bank head last year to find out what World Bank is doing in terms of Fintech. The only answer globally is the blended finance. So this is the single most solution. And I will not repeat the aspects you said. We did this, like I was in the Syndicate Bank, we did the credit cards, we were the first bank to do credit cards 40 years ago. But it was not approved. I rushed to Reserve Bank of India to get it approved. They said, no, you can't give a credit card to farm. It happened after NABARD emerged, after ARBC closed, and then the bank ran the credit card for a while without the approval, and we took the risk on us. So these are things which have failed and which are so much. But one aspect which I just want to add on is, besides the finance, the risk aspects are not being valued at all, like for the farmers. Like if a startup comes, they throw the risk on the farmer. The banker comes, he throws the risk on the kind of climate risk is already done. Price is so volatile. So this is one aspect which farming is apprehensive or afraid of approaching any tech or any finance to take it.
I think we should do a separate session on the risk
No,
element.
Yes.
Fintech includes insurance aspects. Now, the farming community where we are designing insurance products for us. The way I'm telling here is you have the fintech persons here. Think of blending the finance plus the insurance there. The risk has to be removed. Risk has to be shared. This is what we did with McKinsey. Just found out, like I can share the document with you. Risk sharing mechanism we built up. We had a corpus fund and we told the banks, you lend. If there is a fallback, we are there.
I think it's spot on.
This is one thing to really consider. Like if you think a kind of, inclusive finance you try to do without the documentation, the risk has to be shared with somebody. There has to be a corpus fund. We have talked to two of the national, reinsurance agency that are coming forward with the bulk of money that happening between leading insurance companies here, and I think in the money. This will run parallel to the PM's insurance project. It doesn't have agriculture is the entire thing is a huge domain where anybody can come and start doing it. So these are the few thoughts I had. Like I don't know if the technology people here.
So why don't we kind of throw it open?
Yeah, the questions here.
One very important aspect I want to share with you. Like we keep on interacting with a lot of startups, Agritech also. What happens in startups is they have their innovative ideas and sit in the lab and start doing their. It's not the way. Like we formed the Agritech where we started doing the assessment of the applicants in the circles. In the startup, the groups, they don't have an agri person in the team. So there has to be a learning there. Other part is the problem statements have to come from the farming community. Like you can't create a problem in the lab and start big person, whether it's tech or fintech or whatever.
Spot on. The customer is the person to start with.
And when you do a kind of prototype or whatever, it's mechanization or anything, has to be, the kind of feedback has to come from the user community. Otherwise, this will not be sustainable. Like 3-4 years afterwards, startup will vanish. Farmers are back in their, historical things. These are the few things I try to share with you. TIE is a platform. If you have technology ideas, please come to us. We have a huge community of mentors, very senior, very experienced. I welcome both of you to join the TIE. Like you have been.
He's co-opted, don't worry. Timana is definitely, all of them are co-opted. They'll all
Please
be.
join and
I'm
we'll
the
give you a lot of,
yeah,
we'll
definitely.
give you a lot of problems. And I don't know whether you know about the Rabo Finance has done a wonderful aspect.
I met Rabo Finance a few
Yeah.
months back.
So they're keen to come into any startups which actually, they can partner with them. Like they need a cluster to do. So I worked with them in the Netherlands, and it's possible that we can start connecting. Give us a cluster which is responsive for us, please.
Okay.
So these are the few words.
I'm going to kind of stop you and ask for questions from the people in the room and anyone on who's on virtually. Any questions, perspectives? Go ahead. Just speak a little loudly. The microphones will pick it up.
My name is Murli. I promote cycling, active mobility, cycling and walking, in future mobility thing. So also trying to help my friend who is based out of Devra and Durga actually. Okay. So his name is Dinesh and he's trying to see how we can build some technology for the farmers where there is no mobile signals. Okay. So just one technology which he has made and is giving free Wi-Fi to the entire village for Durudalli, where only very marginal CHT people, AC community only lives. So what he has done is he's taken from RailNet and built an antenna and transformed it. So, but the problem he's facing, because he's got some grants and all this is connected, he was trying to integrate arts, this locally made with local materials, nature and all. But unfortunately, the villagers themselves did not kind of embrace his model. But he was not able to get people to sell his very good products. Actually, Go Native, all those baskets were all bought from there. So, and he was not getting right people to work with him also, because he was only paying around 25. That was the kind of budget he could afford, right? So even if a person who goes, stays there, puts in the money and all, these are the challenges. So
I want to say something about that.
how do we enable these startups who are staying in the village? What kind of other support can we as a community give these kind of people?
I'll be a little harsh on you.
Okay.
Okay, not personal,
Okay.
but to be in the group. Rural people and farmers don't need technology. Technology needs rural India.
Okay.
Technology needs rural India. Okay, sorry, I want to play with words for some time. Not to say farmers don't need technology. See, farmers' life today is reasonably good even without the IT technology. His limit is to the neighboring villages. He gets his money, he gets his food, he gets his shelter. His basic needs are met. Okay, his children aspire for better things. They have seen the TV, they have seen the whatever, they're seeing the internet, they're aspiring for higher things. Okay, but they still don't know how to access it and they're not prepared for it. Now, I generally say, if I were to go out to the village and give 10 lakh rupees or a crore of rupees to any farmer, believe me, he'll go out and gamble. He does not know what to do with it. The same if I were to give it to a slum dweller here also, he'll buy 3 taxis and run it for Ola. Entrepreneurial, exposure he has. Down in rural life, for the kind of things they make, which includes handicrafts, they don't know much. Okay, they don't need a lot of money. It will take a little time for you to build there. You need that patience. But rather, please really go with this, that you will spend time and tell people, will they start enjoying the benefits of internet beyond certain rudimentary human needs? Or WhatsApp, Facebook, or some social endorsement. Look at the next level. Typically one should all go back to that hole in the wall experiment. How villagers took to internet, how rural speak. They will take like ducks to water. The one question you should have in your mind when you walk into the village is, how can I put 1 rupee more in his pocket?
Yeah, absolutely. I think
if you keep talking that language, saying that he's earning 100 rupees, how can I give him 101 rupees? The moment I demonstrate it 3 times, he and his neighbor and his grandfather will all walk behind me. Hey, he helped me more. That's the only thing. After that, he will adopt any technology. I have worked with.
No, my question is not about technology adoption. Because he was not only doing technology, he was trying to, whatever you were trying, so kind of like create an ecosystem in the village so that they can additional sources of revenue. That was.
Yeah, that's it. Sorry, just building on that, I for a certain tactical reason picked on you because you are the first person. Look, we are going to solve this puzzle only by collaborative work. If anybody thinks that I'll go solve the rural space, I've been stupid enough to do that. Okay, and not succeeded. Okay, but when we collaborate and go with other ecosystem players like this, that transformation will happen. That's one thing we need to understand. And it's so big that I don't need to consider him as a competitor.
Yeah. The size and scale is massive.
When all of us who have kind of come from those rural backgrounds and learned and go back and offer something, like I'm a platform and I built it for whatever contract farming that I do. But there's a vehicle loan wanting to be given by somebody. There's in that village they want to buy. The revenues have gone up in the village. Okay, but somebody who will go there and customize it to them in their manner. That's about it. And I can only collaborate with platforms. Okay, that's what we should be looking at. Rightfully said, we need to work collaboratively. Okay, there's no other shortcut to that.
Wonderful. Any other questions? In the room, on the yeah. Not sure who's manning the laptop and we can open it.
Any questions in the chat box?
Here's what I found.
Yes, there's one question.
Yeah. Okay, so can you read it out or something? Can't read it from here.
Yes. What is the impact of IP and how do we survive in this trap? Because as startup, we don't have money to pay the loyalty.
I don't know. That's a tricky question, I would say.
Let me add a few things because I actually had a conversation with the Controller General of IP for India this morning. And they are trying to make that almost at a school level. Today, you talk about ideas, you talk about, jugaad, you talk about all of that. But how many people think about it in terms of IP? Not many. And the problem is a lot of the technology solutions that we build may have IP, but we haven't really thought about it and seen whether others have already registered the IP in another country or your solution is worthy of being registered. We haven't done either of it. We need to make that happen. It should be an automatic thing, just like you say, cybersecurity. That is a conversation that we need to have because the unintended consequence for the country is huge. You spoke about the cost of it. The government of India has legal facilitators. They paid about 50,000 rupees. Earlier, it was 20,000. Piyush Goyal realized it was very small. And he literally, after hearing what the amount was, asked the department to change the number. The government is serious about moving the IP conversation forward. Reality is we don't know enough. I'm a champion in that area, but I don't know enough on how to make it happen. But I think it's not something that many of the college students and school students should learn how to do it. Just like we take cybersecurity for granted, IP should be one of those skills if you're going into business today.
For agri sector, I will say the agri IP is a different subject.
Yes.
We'll leave it to that. Yeah. But so far as fintech for agriculture is concerned and IP possibilities in that, don't even bother. The space is so huge that if you were to innovate something for farmers,
Sorry, sir, I disagree very strongly.
please.
And the reason I say that is bulk of the AI IP sits with the US and China and then Europe. Tomorrow, if you have, let's say, one of the companies becoming a unicorn and it is used to take the approach, which is already registered, that is easy pickings for whichever person
on
owns
that
it.
part, I completely agree with you.
And that is
Whatever is happening with AI and these parts where one, probably let me take an example that would make it more real.
Yeah.
Like say, and I was questioning today of how they will analyze satellite images to give advisory to farmers. Okay. Google supposedly has an algorithm to remove the cloud cover. Okay, if they have patented it, and imagine you people don't have access to it or somebody else doesn't have access to it, it's a major problem.
Absolutely.
Okay, so let's not bring it to the realm of fintech and impact, okay, here. But what I want to say is this, look, there's something that we'll have to live with and fight out and do. We are not going to build an economically developed country without IP protection. But at the same time, how do we ensure? Believe me, the best brains. I feel very secure for this country. We don't forget social good, but we don't also forget enterprise. Okay, somewhere the line will come in.
I agree.
We were all worried that Google and Amazon will dominate us. Today, even Amazon is worried what ONDC will do.
Yes.
Okay, we will solve that part out somewhere. Don't wait for IP assurances for you to start causing impact. Go down, start touching the lives of small farmers. You will get your protection.
I agree.
Okay.
I totally agree.
The needs of a paddy farmer in Northeast where flooding happens is distinct from the same Tanjore farmer who also faces flooding or in Gangavati Delta or the person in Indira Gandhi Canal area in Haryana or Punjab. The economic situations are different. They earn differently. They live differently. They kind of, the same flooding is faced by them differently. Okay, so there's enough opportunity. Don't wait for that IP protection. That's all that I want to leave you with.
No, I agree. From that angle, yes. But I think if you're a techie, don't ignore it either.
Yeah, don't please.
I'll just add 1 minute of first thing. In fintech, when we are building, we use a lot of open sources and open rails like ONDC, OCAN, and all that. When we are building, we should build complex processes, understanding the Indian problems. And I've tried this IP, whatever she's saying, we have tried our best.
It's difficult.
You can get a process IP, you can get a copyright of what? Then you're putting every knowledge in the public domain. They can copy faster than they could have done otherwise. So we opted not to go for an IP. Let there be a competition. I'm 3 steps ahead, 5 steps ahead of others. I'll be better than others. And I want to be challenged by others so that innovation doesn't take your permission. It happens in the night and day. So let them happen, and all are welcome to compete and do better for the country. I mean, To that extent, I don't think IP is very relevant today for fintech, not covering any other AI, ML and all that.
And also, the sector is quite huge. I think everybody has got their own share. I mean, we should not be worried about the market is small. No, it's huge. Just to get the numbers when Jagdish was telling, right, out of 1,400 FPOs in Karnataka, whom are we working? A handful. About 20 of them are not even touching about 10 crores of revenue. Where is 1,400? Where is 10% of that? And where is 10 crores of it? So it is a huge thing. When how much ever we had, it is just impossible for us to do it.
I think there are some questions in
somebody
the chat box.
somebody-
Saeed, if you can help us because
Yes.
we are not able to do that.
They were not able to
We have
unmute
one
it.
question from the audience. Hold on.
Can you just read it out?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hi, Santosh. You can go ahead and ask the question.
Hey everyone, this is Santosh. I work with a global bank as head of innovation. So very interesting discussion that was there. I heard large part of it. So quick question is that the global banks like us, we also want to get our hands into the activity of social finance, and there's a global mandate that's being pushed across the world, right? So there is certain interest, but what we see is we are somewhere at a different level. We're talking about all of this in the media and PR, but somehow there's a disconnect between what's happening on the ground, right? How can we, as a global bank, as a financial behemoth, contribute to this activity, right? How do we engage, right? Because of the regulatory, there are certain thresholds that we have to manage, right? Without below which we can't commit. So I can't go and fund an agri person because of my challenges in the process that I have or the regulatory challenges I may have. But I do want to bring in certain capabilities that I have. I could do securitization for the fintechs who are doing lending activity, supply chain finance, or I could enable cross-border transactions, trading. There could be 25 other things that we could bring to the table, which is sort of an expertise which is in-house, but we don't know how to really get engaged on the ground, right? Would love to hear your thoughts, and I'm open to maybe having a separate offline conversation as well on how we could engage with each other.
So Santosh, happy to take that particular thing. I think there are a lot more agencies which have opened up now. As I was talking to you, there are legitimate bodies coming into systems very openly now, and which have been backed by government. At the same time, and in agri trade, finance is the first thing what they have to look out for. So just to get you an example, with about 10 to 15 lakhs or 20 lakhs of working capital, they can touch about 3 to 4 crores of turnover in top line revenue. Beyond that, it's very difficult. And now they are not just easily coming onto the eyes of the nationalized bank. But if you guys have got any specific products for some of these agencies, we can connect to them and then they can leverage this particular thing and see how they can do it. If we can do it with banks like SBI, Syndicate, or some of these people, I'm sure there are a lot more avenues to do with that. And co-lending is actually happening in a bigger way. So I'm happy to have an offline conversation with you to see what all we can do. In fact, we have gone to an extent where we have been talking to some set of FPOs from the really part of it with the companies on even contract farming also, where there is an assurance required by the buyback. And so there is a synergic approach what we can do it on. There are a lot more things what I can see happening out in and out. Tech part, let all of us govern it and then say, and again, to address the rural market, you should not be worried about the technological piece. You should be more worried about the implementation piece here. And here, trust me, simple solutions are the fantastic solutions here, and they are yet complex to be deployed here. So the simpler the options are, the better we can reach out is what I feel. As I said, when we took up the approach, we only focused on market linkage. We didn't focus on anything else. We wanted to address some 7 different pieces of the game, but we realized that, okay, let's address one thing and let be master of that. Like just like a typical map, have the north side very clearly answer for you, then slowly connect them. Now I've got startups who have been working with some of these FPOs only for soil testing. I've got some people who are giving the satellite services, then doing it. Some fintechs have come to say, through your numbers, can I give a hand loan for them? Which was earlier used only by non-banking sector. So they've actually now started doing this part. You won't believe, in Belgaum, I was talking to one FPO called Raita Spurti. By just giving the input for their services, they have done about 7.5 crores of business. It's humongous opportunity, and not everybody can afford it. If somebody can give that a credit of 30 days or something, there is a lot more things what we can do is what I feel. It is just that our understanding is not that deeper in the rural part. We need to partner with some of these implementing agencies and see how we can take it up.
Can I add to that?
Yes.
Yeah, I think being a global thing, to get into India, you have to work with banks and the NBFCs, which are regulated. You have to read the latest digital lending guidelines. You have to go with the regulated entity. You can operate through a co-lending model, which is permitted, and securitization model, which is permitted. FLDC model, as it is, you have to read again, because what was FLDC before is rewritten as, you should not get into synthetic securitization and all that. Please be aware of that. I think working with any of these NBFCs, there's somebody called Jai Kisan, Sumanati, and various other things. Now, fintechs there has to be a regulated entity working with you. Please be aware of that. I think products are there. Products are there out there for a short term, medium term, long term, term loan, working capital loan, for and against assets, for equipment and all that. I think you can pick up dairy, you can pick up crops, you can pick up fisheries, poultry, and various segments are there for that.
Yeah, I just want to add, I mean, we are seeing many more projects getting formed. You just need to be a little patient, because this is a very, very nascent area where only 2 years ago we have deployed Aadhaar-based payment system and all these things. Okay, with digitalization of records and assets are. It's very, very new. Okay, so meet more often, discuss more often, both through TIE and otherwise. At the stage, we have another event happening on 9th and 10th, where we are trying to articulate these projects where we bring all these stakeholders together.
Yeah.
Okay, I may not have immediate suggestions to give. Offline, let us discuss. I know a lot of projects waiting in the wings to take off.
Wonderful. Sir, but one side, the technology is developing, everything developing, but bank rules or lending rules are remain same as previous.
You must remember, and
Can I answer that? Can I answer? I'll take that. In this country, don't try to change the rules and the policy. Not a dot can be changed. I've tried this for the last 5 years. What I agreed is, I will apply the technology to your physical processes. It might be physical, it might be digital, it might be, you give them how they want it. But you will shorten, you put the extreme convenience. You cannot sell the technology to the farmer. Absolutely. As a borrower, sell him the convenience, sell him the benefit. If I tell you that to give that 1 lakh Kisan credit card, banks are spending anywhere between 2,000 to 5,000 rupees. From the beginning, it is a loss-making product. We are trying to say, if you can spend 1/10 of that, I will give the same experience to the farmer and you. That's how you can solve the problem. Don't try to change the regulation, policies. They will undergo change every quarter, every year. You give the feedback and leave it at that. Work on the technology.
That is an obstacle for fintech.
No, not really.
No.
Not really.
Fintechs have to learn to work with the regulator and regulation, not beyond the regulation. That time of all that period is over. Now you have to innovation with the regulation will work. In BFSI, nothing else will work. This is my personal experience after the last 3 years.
My words would be this, the credit needs a certain amount of discipline. A discipline means you should be aware of it. So don't really ask for relaxation of that. Now we've seen more than once when credit access has been relaxed, there's been more risk behavior.
To top that, agri lending is you're not selling a product. It is a mandated distribution business.
Yeah.
You're just facilitate. If I tell you that Agri Kisan credit card, the target achievement is 70-80%, not even 100%. 20 lakh crore is announced in the budget. By 2025, they say it will be 25 lakh crore. 18%, it will remain 18% your bank credit. You're not able to reach it to the farmer. Farmer is going to the mandi, not coming to the bank.
Yes.
Why? Because of its convenience and the paperwork. Just solve that problem. Money is available. And demand and supply works are perfectly in place.
Today, exactly the money lenders are using that gap.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
So is why I said more systems like this which have come up, okay, where we can go through those vehicles. See, frankly speaking, I started knowing some of these terminologies of late in the last 2 years. When I use that leverage, right, it was easy for me to reach the last man than relying on the age-old system what we have it. So we should see that, am I reaching customers and is customer benefited by my service or not? Rest everything will fall in place. When we first went in as a not-for-profit, and that's the reason why we actually made as a not-for-profit, because we wanted the acceptance. It is very difficult for us to find out a catalyst we can actually make the region faster.
Okay. We have 15 minutes over time, But what it tells me is we will definitely come back with a couple of other sessions on Agri-Fintech because the dialogue is just started. And we haven't really started exploring what are the opportunities in much more depth. We will definitely do that because I think, I know when Timana and I spoke, we knew this is a space that we should explore. Opportunities are there. And I don't know what the size and scale for each person is going to look like. But it's also something that many of us are quite passionate about. We want inclusive growth. And thanks to Timana, Patil, and Jagdish, because I think they are a fount of experience. And we're really lucky to have a lot of people who are committed to that. These are three such people who are really genuinely committed to making the transformation. Reach out to them. You can get their contact details on LinkedIn, very easy and accessible. I didn't know Jagdish or Patil before the session, but it was very easy to have a conversation. I knew Timana because I met him in Mangalore a few months back. But believe me, I think most people are accessible, where if this ecosystem is one of the most friendly systems, make use of it. And thank you all of you who've been on the virtual system. Hopefully we will have a few more sessions coming up and you'll probably have more interesting questions and conversations. And I think it's good to have the push and pull because there are different topics, like you asked about regulation. There'll be the thing on IP. But it is, unless you have that honest dialogue, we can't bring about transformation. So with that, thank you very much. The next session is on the 9th. That's on the green pillar, which the government called out. It'll be from a regulatory lens perspective. So if you're joining, look out for